I think, yeah, I mean, you definitely want to be precise about what kind of movie you're planning to make. I mean, you want to have a concept of, the style and the visual and the mood and the tonality and the themes and, what are you trying to tell visually also. But I think if you're too precise with, being locked into everything designed, then you lose a lot of opportunities, because when you're on a set, things happen that you haven't planned for. And I think if you look, I mean, Gore is a very good director, and he's made a lot of money. But if you look at his movies, you can feel that accidents haven't happened. If you look at Lone Ranger, you look at it, you go, oh my God, how much work went into this picture. It's such incredible craftsmanship. Or with Chris Nolan, I think, and then, but you feel like there's a lack of emotion. There's a lack of those little accidents that you have to find, and if you see them or you feel like if this is happening, that you can be reactive to them and capture them in a different way than it was designed. Otherwise you're just using your actors like, figures, like pawns in a chess play. You restrain, I mean, we've worked like that, where they come in, you show them the marks, you go from here to here, Woody Allen works like that. I was talking to Jenna Rollins, who obviously comes from Cassavetes School of Filmmaking, which is the opposite. The camera's the slave of the actors. Nobody ever knows what's going to happen, and they can move freely. And then when she worked with Woody on Another Woman, it was, he said, I would like you to pick up this bottle and carry it over there, and that's going to take the camera to here. And she goes, but why would I, why I don't want to be taking this bottle? It doesn't make, let's just do it. And, anyway, I mean, so everybody has a different style, but, also some actors are fine with it. Like Nick Cage on Weatherman that I did with Gore loved it. He would come, his second team, we call him, the stand-in. We rehearse all the shots with him, then he comes, the stand-in tells him exactly how the shot functions, the mechanics of the shot. He nods, and then he does it one take, and that's it.
I think precision is a wonderful thing, but it's a risky thing. You can be maniac, can be still wonderful. But the risk is that it becomes hard. And then you lose you have a big stone around your leg. But precision itself, I think it's for any kind of art a need. You can imagine a composer who writes somehow the notes, and then some musician who plays somehow some notes. It's not possible, you need that precision. It's another way of precision.
Hey. Going away from the feature movies and the storytelling and going out to the documentary, the cinematographer changes his how should I say it? He changes how he works because the material is different. Not necessarily when you do an interview, but when you go out on the field and have to record something. What I want to ask, what is your experience about good decisions that can be made in the moment of the whatever your project is when you shoot it? Is there any good mentality that can help such a position? I don't know.
If I understood you right, to speak about not a feature film, but documentary or film. Yeah. I don't know what you think, but I think first you have to really master your tool. You have to be ready. And for me it was very often the question, what is luck? To be ready. to see it if it happens, or to feel it the moment before. That was the training, I was learning or trained with with the shooting, even with news gathering. You develop an instinct what he will make next movement. So you are a bit before, or at least parallel there, but not too late. And the second thing is that to stay cool in the best sense, that means to not lose your open senses and attention only because something was not appearing as you expected it. Because it will always happen something. And maybe it's a gift, but you will receive.
One thing I think comes from documentary, and it's the same in feature films, and has a little bit to answer for the first question. I think a cinematographer, no matter what their subject matter, is the person that has the best seat in the house for a story. It should be the person that listens the most and sees the most, and sees and hears for the audience. If you can do that, whatever your subject matter or whatever the format, I think you will serve the story or the action or whatever it is you're trying to capture very well.
And it's a very nice training for anybody who shoots a feature. I would not miss it. I would not like to miss it, that experiences. Sorry. Who was the next?
Just here in the middle.
Hello. I was not here yesterday, so I don't know if you talked about it already. But of course, everything is just a tool, and it's the people who make it. But what is your approach to this step of cinematography with Gravity or Life of Pi? These creative movies, but which also take the camera is a second fiddle, let's say. Things are created before, in the middle, or after the movie. What is your approach to that? Or ideas, or whatever. Thank you.
Well, actually, Harris did he did Thor, so he did a big visual effects movie with, this is, it's the reality of what's happening now. There are going to be a lot of movies that are moving into that direction and are made that way. I haven't really had to do one, so I'm going to try and avoid them as long as I can. That's my approach. Same with 3D. I'm not really that interested in it. But if I have to do it, Chivo, to talk about Gravity, Emanuel Betsky is, probably the greatest living cinematographer, one of the best. He embraced it. He came up with creative ways to capture that, how to light the actors. Of course, you can say, well, the 80-90% of it is generated, computer generated, but he's very, very responsible for the visuals on that movie. He's very involved. He came up with his LED light panels that have interactive lighting on the faces. These are all his ideas. So it's just extension of just like if you're a pilot, you start with a small single prop and then you end up in a multi-engine jet. That you still you have many more controls. You still have to fly the plane, and it's just tools we have to learn. There are arguments, of course. Somebody said to me, because this year I was nominated against Chivo, and they said, well, you lost an animated movie. And I'm like, and he went on to say, well, my feeling is if you can't go to the place where the movie was photographed and stand there and see the landscape or the house, then it shouldn't really be a cinematography category. And there are discussions about possibly creating a new category, because on a movie like Avatar, that cinematographer was Mauro Fiore, and he had no involvement in the post-production. I talked to the visual effects person, Robert Stromberg, who actually won an Academy Award for production design. He designed, the planet and the plants and those floating mountains. And I said, oh, how did you enjoy working with Mauro on Avatar? He goes, I never met him. So that's kind of, but Claudio around, I mean, on Life of Pi, you know, and the ASC and the societies and the cameraman, I mean, they get nominated, those movies, by us. So I think a little bit we're also trying to hold on to that as being part of our field, you know. That's why, you know, Avatar won. I mean, but it was nominated by the cinematographers. It was nominated by the AAC. So, and I was questioning that, and they were saying, yeah, well, I think part of it is, like, we don't want to let go. We don't want this to become, you know, a digital world where we're not part of creating those images.
Make a separation. We don't want to separate, yeah.
Yeah, they don't. Yeah, I think we're not ready to let go. I mean, we have to see how we can stay involved and you know, be part of it.
I think a cinematographer is really their greatest tool is their opinion. You're usually hired for your opinion, and when you're dealing with a effects film, you must use your critical mind, your taste, and on Thor, I was involved all the way from the beginning, all the way to the end, all the way to the 3D conversion. And one of the things I kind of learned on that is that it does go back to very old school filmmaking in many ways. When I would see Ken be more involved in his directing of the actors was when we got to a point where it was almost only green screen. And you could see a great director working with great actors. He really truly found ways of making them imagine where they were and to feel those emotions. And that's something, if they hired a VFX person, they would never be able to do that. That's what a master director does, I think, in those situations. Tom Hiddleston at some point said, now I realize why I learned how to mime at drama school. And I think for cinematographers it's the same way. It's that whole thing of helping kind of imagine the shot. I think that never goes away, and helping capture the performance is the same. You must strip things out, like sets, etc., but you've got to maintain the reality as you would, for example, in making a notebook.
I just want to say, I mean, we also get hired and invited by Disney and Pixar to contribute. I mean, Roger Deakins, you guys know probably. He worked on he's been consultant on a few Pixar movies, and I've been asked to talk in front of the whole animation department that did Frozen. And, you know, I was very curious about it because I said, well, who's in charge of the continuity of light and the storytelling? And, you know, they all get assigned, there's like 600-700 people, different animators, so they all get assigned a sequence. And they all want to excel and show off in their sequence. So the camera's, you know, over animated and out of control, and, you know, and the mix is, you know, the sound design is, and I have 6-year-old twins, and I watch them watch these movies, and they're completely exhausted after this. You know, it's just too much stimulation. So I said, you know, calm down. The camera movement, just because you can do anything you want, doesn't mean, you know. So in a way, they look to us and they want our advice. You know, what is simple storytelling? What is coverage? You know, effective coverage without that feels more cinematic and is more reality based, and the lighting also, the lighting sources, and, you know, they have people that design them. But I talked to this one animator, and she's responsible for one of the characters, the lead character in Frozen, and you know, she videotapes herself and acts out all the little moves, and you know, she was very into it and explaining and showing me the whole process. And I go, well, when does the director get involved? Well, you know, we review every month or two, but we don't want to overwhelm them, and you know, but I go, so how much? I bet she goes, on this I did a lot. I go, how much of your character is in the film? She goes, oh, a lot, a minute and a half.